time with family, staying active, doing what you love. We understand how important it is to live your best life, even as times are changing. At Holzer, we strive to help every patient achieve their best health during every stage of life. With more options for care through in-person and virtual visits, we are dedicated to providing you with excellent care every time. Live your best life with Holzer.
Welcome to the newest episode of Talk of the Town, episode 34, brought to you by Holzer Health System and the Buckeye County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Executive Director Josh Wellington, and joining me today from Buckeye Hills Career Center, Jamie Nash. Jamie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Josh.
So you've got a ton of stuff going on, and we'll get into that deeper and deeper as we go here. But what I wanted to start out with is how you ended up at Buckeye Hills, kind of your background, and what led you to Buckeye County.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, that may take a whole episode by itself. But I'm a product of career technical education. I graduated in 1991. Back then, we called it vocational education.
Right.
I was the type of kid who got bored with school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, me and my buddies decided to go out and visit the career center. And went out there and I seen a program that caught my eye. And it was a drafting program, and you would learn how to draft on the board, and you would also learn how to draft on AutoCAD. And AutoCAD was just being introduced into that profession, so it intrigued me. And I was I was a kid who liked art,
right? And
I liked to draw. I liked to be creative and build things and tear things apart and try to figure it out. And long story short, I went to the career center. Back then, things were different at the vocational schools. I was actually, believe it or not, talked into not going by my counselor and by my principal. Yeah. They were like, Jamie, that's not the place for you to go. That's where those kids go to. And to be honest with you, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I knew a lot of my friends were going there.
Right.
I knew they were good kids. I knew they may be, a little different. They may have been poor. They may have not had the right name. They may not have been good at sports. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. I remember being a kid and having that bother me. And you know what? I decided to go ahead and do it. And I had an older sibling, two older siblings. Neither one of them went to the vocational school. I decided to go, and that turned into a great opportunity for me. My junior year, I was able to learn about drafting on both AutoCAD and on the board. I was able to compete at the back then we had to compete at regional and district levels before we went to state. And my junior year, I actually made the platform at state.
Wow.
In mechanical drafting. And that led to a paid internship my senior year. I started that paid internship right out of the gate in October. I worked for the engineering department at the Mead paper plant.
Okay.
It was kind of neat because those guys were all still drawing on the boards, and here come the young kid. And I had to teach a lot of them how to use AutoCAD. And it was great. It was a great opportunity. I worked my entire senior year. Hence is why you'll find out as a superintendent, I am big into job placement and pre-apprenticeships and internships. A lot of that's because I went through that and it worked.
Right.
So that was a great experience for me as a high school kid. That ended up, we'll kind of fast forward this pretty quick. That led to a full-time job. The day after I graduated high school, I went to work for a company out of Stone Mountain, Georgia. They were a contractor at the paper plant. They needed a field engineer, and they hired me on the spot. And
wow.
I was a field engineer and an AutoCAD specialist technician with that company for about 3 or 4 years. It was interesting for me because, I wanted to go to school and become an engineer. And I started at OU at the branch campus. I remember I was up there for about a year, and I came, my mom and dad were blue collar, and we didn't have the means to pay for school. And so I paid for it myself. And I did that for about a year. And I thought, man, I'm making great money, which I was making great money at the time. And decided to not go back the following quarter. Back then it wasn't semesters.
Right.
But that job turned into another job that led to another job. Throughout that whole experience, I always would obtain industry credentials. And even 30 years ago, industry credentials were a big thing. I actually went to the adult center and took some additional industry credentials after I graduated high school. All those led to other job opportunities.
Right.
Fast forward, I got an opportunity to become a career tech teacher, and it was in a very unique environment. And I went to work for a school system called the Ohio Central School System, and that is the school system that provides services to all adult prisoners in the state of Ohio. And I taught a career tech program both to high school and adult offenders for probably about 7 or 8 years. And then I decided, you know what, man, I'm going to go back to college, and that's what happened. I went back to college and got my teaching license and got my principal's license, and fast forward, and I just kind of climbed the ladder all the way up to the administration. Worked in administration for several years for that same school system. And then in 2011, I had the opportunity, 2010, 2011, I had the opportunity to take an assistant director's job at the Ohio Department of Education.
Okay.
And I worked I call it the Ivory Towers. I'm allowed to because I worked there. But I worked in the Ivory Towers from 2011 until about 2000 and probably, I think 15, 16. During that time frame, I became the associate director over all of career tech for the state of Ohio. There was some key pieces of legislation that was passed in 2013. There was actually 21 pieces of career tech legislation. I always tell people all the time, when people think about career centers now or vocational schools, they're not, the career centers are not your mom and dad or grandma and grandpa's vocational schools.
Right.
They've completely evolved, and they're very high end. The rigor is very, very tough. It's a good place to be. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's always been that way. It's just always had that negativity associated with it. So, you know, for me, I got to learn a lot at the very highest level in the state and had that opportunity to learn, work with a lot of legislators, passed a lot of legislation, built a lot of programs. A lot of the programs we're implementing right now at Buckeye Hills were programs that I was part of designing and developing at the state level. So to be able to come down here and implement those, it was pretty special. I left the State Department in 2015, and I took a director's job back where it all began at Pickaway Ross Career and Technology Center.
Wow.
And I was the secretary director there for about 3 years. I had went there to, I had pretty much worked in just about every position there has been, but I wanted to become a superintendent of a career center because I wanted to give back because it was so good to me. And I got that opportunity whenever Mr. Lewis decided to retire at Buckeye Hills. My superintendent approached me about the position, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to put my name in the hat and see what happens. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. Fell in love with the school, fell in love with the community. You know, and my wife and I just moved down here this past July.
Okay.
And so we're now residents of Gallatin County, and couldn't be more proud to be here and honored to be here. I'm all about public service. You know, I'm a superintendent that's paid by the taxpayers of Ohio. I'm here to serve the community, to serve our kids, to serve our staff, serve our employers. That's what I'm in the business for, and I think I'm so passionate about it because it worked for me.
Right.
And I know that kids that are just like me, it'll work for them as well. And I think that's what really is important as we move career tech into the future.
You mentioned a little bit about when you made the decision to go and kind of the negative view by some on that. Has that stigma changed? I know when I was in high school, there was that stigma of, oh, you're going to Buckeye Hills, or you're doing it. Has that changed to now where people are saying, you know,
yeah, you're gonna find out.
I'm getting a head start here.
Yeah, you're gonna find out. I keep it real with people. Now I've been down at Buckeye Hills now for 4 years. It was still here 4 years ago. I will tell you this: it's changing. It's changing fast.
Right.
It really, to me, it was all about partnerships and communications and relationships. And our career tech, a lot of people don't realize this, but Ohio is very unique. There's only 2 states that operate like Ohio. It's Ohio and Oklahoma system. There's 54 career tech planning districts in Ohio, JVSDs, and they were strategically placed for a purpose. And then they have what's called adult education attached to them. So you have the high school side, and then you have the adult side. We have what's called a career tech. We are the career tech planning district lead for Gallatin, Jackson, and Vinton County, and all of our partner schools are all of our schools. So they're part of the Career Tech Planning District membership.
Right.
So they're the members. And I always tell people this all the time. The Career Center is their career center. It's
Right.
their kids.
Yes.
It's their career center. It's basically a division of all your K through 12 schools, and that's where kids can go to take career technical education. Now, what's interesting is a lot of people don't realize this. We have developed over the last 4 years wonderful partnerships with all the schools, from the superintendents to the board of education, with all of our treasurers, also with all of our building principals, guidance counselors. We've pushed all the way down to middle grades. And over the last 4 years, we've actually built partnerships and programs that start as early as the 6th and 7th grade.
Wow.
And next school year, every one of our school districts that are a part of the partnership will have career technical education programs in them as early as the 7th grade that go all the way through 12th grade. So we have career tech programs at our home schools, multiple options for kids at the home school, because a lot of kids still want to stay back at the home school.
Right.
For a lot of different reasons, a lot of variables. But also we have programs also at the main campus. And then we're building additional programs and expansion opportunities for those kids as well as they kind of climb the ladder and get closer to adulthood.
So that gives them not just a 2-year head start on a career, but now they're building toward a career as early as junior high.
Absolutely. We just landed another grant this just a few months ago, and we're actually hiring what's called job coaches. And we're going to have 3 job coaches starting out. We'll have a job coach at Vinton County Schools in Walston. We'll have another one at Jackson and Oak Hill. And then we'll have one also that'll serve the county and the city here in Guy County. Those career coaches will work with our middle school teachers and staff and also with business and industry partners. Our goal is to have every kid that goes through our school systems to have access to what a career pathway looks like for each occupation.
Wow.
That's available within the region and within the state. Super important. It's not just tailored toward career tech, it's tailored toward all occupations. And so our goal is to build those partnerships. I tell people this all the time. This business is really about reforming the school systems from K through 12 and beyond. What we're doing is we're getting kids started earlier to explore career pathways. And we call them continuous pathways. So they begin as early as the 6th and 7th grade. They go all the way up through 12th grade, and then they go into adult education and into community college with the University of Rio Grande as a primary partner. And that is what's called a continuous pathway
Wow.
model. And we're building those across the board. We have great partnerships with the community college. 4 years ago, we didn't have any bilateral agreements. Those are articulated credits with our courses that we teach with them. Now we have all of our programs have articulated credit with
Wow.
URG, and I'm proud that the leadership on both sides of the house, from Buckeye Hills and URG, can see the value that we both bring to the table for the community. So it's pretty cool to kind of watch that all work itself out. Now,
Yeah.
there's always bumps in the roads.
Absolutely.
But that's just, bumps in the roads is because people don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's normal. I mean, I'm from Appalachia. I'm from a little town called Bainbridge, Ohio. I understand Appalachia. I grew up in the holler, lived in the holler my whole life. So I understand, that we just, some folks just don't like change. And that goes for both. That was with Buckeye Hills staff and with the community college staff. So I think with Ryan Smith becoming president there, I think it's starting to change those dynamics. Actually, to be honest with you, pretty fast. He has a new provost named Dr. Beam. Her and I meet pretty regular now. So we're starting to work out those things and getting that dialogue moving forward. So we're excited for the community as we can build continuous pathways and put a pipeline together to the workforce.
You spoke about grants. You had a big announcement recently about some programs, some new programs, and that comes from grants and money that was available. Talk a little bit about. I know you have 4 new programs that you're looking to start up.
So a couple things, kind of go back a little bit. So I've been at Buckeye Hills now for 4 years. Out of those 4 years, 2 of those years we were froze. Our budget was froze. So when your budget gets froze, what you do is you start looking at grant dollars and you start chasing grant dollars. One thing you'll find out about me, and the taxpayers will love this about me, I will never ask the taxpayers for additional dollars. I'm never going to go to the ballot and ask for a levy. It's not in me. It's not going to happen. If we can't operate on what we call the 2% floor,
right.
then we won't. We'll have to look elsewhere to do business some different ways.
Right.
So we started chasing a lot of grants while we were froze, and we started landing grant after grant after grant. And I really want to give a shout out to my grant team. Have a really, really good grant team with Don Armstrong. He's my director. I stole someone from the Buckeye County Health Department named Tyler Swikert. He's also another grant writer, and he's a great researcher. He just joined our team not too long ago. He's done a wonderful job. I've got a great support staff with my deans and my administration. And then I have a great treasurer as well with Stephanie Rife. So, we have just built a very, very dynamic team that understands the vision and understands the direction. So we began to go after grants. And the grant you're talking about is we just landed a $1.5 million ARC Power grant. Of course, it has a kicker on the side where we had to do a match. The match is right underneath. I think it's around $642,000 and some change. That's just one grant. We also landed another $500,000 grant for senior only industry credentials, and then we do a lot of mini grants at $200,000 and $250,000 and $100,000. So those things all started to add up. I think the reason we've been successful is because we really developed a strategic plan with the Board of Education and with our team, and we know what the vision is. We all are going in the same direction, and we built it around our partnerships that we already have and new partnerships that we're developing. And one thing we pay attention to is we pay attention to what's going on in the workforce. We've been doing this for 48 years at Buckeye Hills.
Right.
So we pay real specific attention to where the jobs are at. And we know where the jobs are at. And we're not talking about just any job. We're talking about in-demand, high-quality, high-paying jobs,
Yes.
long-term careers. So we did a lot of research around that, and we landed on 4 big ones. The first one is we wanted to build a telecommunications program. And we're talking about a year-long program. It's kind of similar to what we call our Powerline program, but this is telecommunication. Same type of concept. They have both aerial and ground, and then they of course have specialties as well. The goal, and people don't understand, if you're not evolving, you're making a big mistake. And when I got to Buckeye Hills, it was like a fresh, blank canvas of opportunity. And we had to change the way the Career Center had done business in the past. And this goes along for all career centers. It goes along with all workforce development training centers and educational systems. If you don't evolve, you're going to get stuck in the mud. And so we began to look at things differently. And we began to partner with business partners and industry partners with our training and building our training around them and building curriculum around them. And making sure that it had purpose and making sure that it had an industry credential, because industry credentials honestly outweigh a lot of things you hang on the wall. The industry credential, in my opinion, may have more value than anything you'll ever get and hang on that wall. That's what gets you the jobs. Again, that goes back from my experiences as a kid.
Right.
I knew those industry credentials could give me advancement. I knew those industry credentials could give me the next job or a promotion within an organization. So we met with a very large contractor. It's one of the largest telecommunication contractors in the region, and that's there. And it was kind of neat for me, pretty special. We had a bonding moment because B.J. Burdett is also a product of Career Technical Education,
Right.
who happened to graduate from Buckeye Hills. And and his team is dynamic, man. And when he brings his team, he brings them. And they're very, very super intelligent people. They understand exactly what the business needs. And you know what? If you're going to build a program, why wouldn't you build it with the content experts?
Exactly.
And that's what Career Tech's always done. And everybody always asks, well, what's the secret? The secret's simple. We bring in the content experts who are from business and industry. We either hire them as our teacher,
Right.
or we partner with them as one of our training partners. So in this case, we're partnering with Thayer as one of our training partners. So BJ and I will be meeting here soon. We actually found us a good instructor. And BJ's comfortable with them, I'm comfortable with them, and we'll begin to build that program. The telecommunications program, believe it or not, there is no curriculum for it. We're going to write it ourselves. And
That's fantastic.
We're going to develop ourselves. The whole program will be developed by Buckeye Hills in partnership with Thayer. So we're excited about that. There's a lot of money getting ready to get pumped into Ohio. A lot with broadband, with
Yes.
expansion. Well, and that's great. I love it. I tell all the politicians and the bureaucrats, we appreciate it. We need it. We must have it. And COVID exposed our region.
It did a lot.
Yeah, big time. But you have to have a workforce to put it in place.
Absolutely.
And I know that. And so I began to work with my team and work with our content experts and our business partners, and we began to build that. And here we are. We landed a grant, and then we had the opportunity to jumpstart the program. We're hoping it'll be up and running probably late summer, early fall. We also are going to have a CDL program on the main campus. We're partnering with Destiny Trucking, and we're going to be building our own CDL complex. So we'll actually have a facility on campus at the main campus for CDL training. We'll do standalone training, but we also do a lot of connection training. So a lot of our programs connect to CDL. So for instance, like our power alignment program, you have to have your CDL.
Right.
Telecommunications, you have to have your CDL. Heavy equipment operators, they have to have their CDLs. Mechanics, they have to have their CDLs. So what we've done is we knew that was a critical part of the infrastructure as we build it. So we plugged that right into our programs as we build those programs. We also are doing a heavy equipment operators program with Local 18. We've always partnered with them. We'd only usually bring a handful of kids up to Logan, and now we now have our own at our own main campus with Local 18. So we already actually have it up and running. So we have a training site already on campus. The kids are already out there. We put I think 11 high school kids already through it.
Oh wow!
And they graduate tonight. So yeah, we did it
That's
fast.
awesome.
So we just made that announcement, and we had those kids in heavy equipment like the next day, and we were allowed to put them in there. So
I told my wife when I told her you were coming on the podcast, I said only I would ask the superintendent of the school system to be on a podcast the day of graduation.
It doesn't bother me a bit. I mean, it's just it's a superintendent's life. But the heavy equipment program we're super excited about. We actually will have an adult ed program that starts I think July 7th,
Okay.
and so it'll be open to adult ed. I think registration is open now on our website. So we're excited about it. The one that will take a little bit more time to build because we got to build some buildings is our heavy equipment technicians program. So when you think about heavy equipment operators, well, that equipment breaks down.
Exactly.
So you got to have a technician that can fix it, and we know for a fact that is a huge in-demand job right now, and so we're going to build that program that will marry up to the other programs really well. So those are the four components, program components of the $1.5 million grant. We're, of course, the Board of Education, we're putting a lot of local dollars into this as well. We'll probably exceed our match, to be honest with you. We know that.
Right.
We also have another important component of that is we're going to begin to provide transportational services from Meigs County and Vinton County to the main campus at least twice a day for adults. If you survey adults, you find out there's two big barriers. The first barrier is transportation.
Mm-hmm.
The second barrier is childcare.
Yes.
So we are actually in the process right now of opening up our own early child care center at the main campus.
Fantastic.
So adult students and high school students and staff, grandparents, some of our staff are grandparents, they now can bring kids to the career center. Hopefully it'll be later this probably late summer, early fall is when we'll have that up in operation. Right now it'll just be internally. We're
Right.
not opening it up to the public right now yet.
Yeah.
That could happen down the road with partnerships though.
Yes.
I would never do that by ourselves. That would be with a partnership with folks that are in that content business
Exactly.
and know that business. We do have our own early child care program in our high school, so our high school kids will be able to, that'll become their real life experience.
There you go.
And they'll be able to work with kids on a daily basis, and which is important. We had something similar to the career center I left. We had our own child care facility, so it was an easy lift for me to know, hey, we can put some design work around this and some planning around this, and we could probably make this live. And so we're looking forward to that as well. Another key component that just got passed in Senate Bill 166 for career centers, we'll also be offering driver's education. Career centers are allowed to offer driver's education at their career centers for students that are in career tech programs. So we will begin to offer our kids access to driver's ed next school year. So our kids will be able to, that's old school stuff.
Yeah.
Back in my day, my baseball coach was my driver's ed teacher, so schools got away from that. We worked with legislation really, to be honest with you, I've been working with legislation for probably about 10 or 12 years on this. And we finally got that to go through a piece of legislation, so that was important. That piece of legislation had some other key components for employers. It gives them a tax exemption if they hire a career tech student.
Oh, wow.
And then also that they can also help out with their Bureau of Workers' Compensation. So there's some key components there. if you're listening, you got any questions, if you're an employer, give me a call, and we can talk about those things and get those into your hands so you can take a look at it. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, it's, I think when the board hired me, they had me go over my vision, and they had me kind of go over what I thought my, 1-year plan would be, 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. I promised them. I said, look, I'm not going to hit the gas pedal. I said, we won't knock the wheels off of it, but, I don't let the grass grow underneath my feet either. And my team, it was really taking my team and changing the dynamics and the way of thinking to where they're part of the decision-making framework.
Yes.
And really pushing that down to our teachers and our staff, and making sure that everybody that's part of the Buckeye Hills family understands that it doesn't move forward without all of them.
Yes.
And so it was neat to kind of watch that develop over the last 4 years.
It does take some time.
Yes. And I think, keep in mind, we had 2 years of COVID on top of this.
Exactly.
So for our career center to move from where it was at to where it's at now is just amazing to me. It's truly astonishing to see how we've jumped into, and I'll tell you right now, I mean, career centers across Ohio are watching what we're doing.
I don't think it's just career centers. I think that people are taking notice, and when you've got people, like Jason Stevens, who I know is a big proponent of what you're doing, and is, our legislator for this area. Someone like John Kerry from the Governor's Office for Appalachia. I had a chance to talk to him a few weeks ago, and he's just so excited about the things that are happening in our area, and Buckeye Hills is, one of those things. You talk to Jason's wife Julie, who works for Congressman Johnson's office. I've said on this podcast, if I've said it once, I've said it 10 times. She is, of all the people that I've made a connection with since taking this position a year and a half ago, one of my favorite people. She is, a perfect example. I needed to get a hold of somebody in the Attorney General's office about a week ago, and I didn't know who our liaison was. It's just not somebody you call up all the time, you know. So I called Julie, and I said, hey, do you know somebody? And she gave me somebody's number, and I called and left them a voicemail. And within 10 minutes, my phone rang, and it wasn't the person I called, but this person. I answered the phone, and they said, this is such and such from the Attorney General's office. Congressman Johnson's office just called and said we needed to get a hold of you right away. And I thought, well, thanks. That helps.
I'll tell you what, Jason and Julie both are great. I mean, they're Lawrence County residents.
Yes.
They're us.
They are.
And they're our voice. They're our voice in D.C. and in Columbus. And Jason and Julie was just at the career center the other day, and I've known them for a while and got to know them over the years, and really, really good people. I'll tell you, our public servants from this region do a really, really good job.
They do.
And sometimes I don't think people that are plugged into it daily get that.
Right.
But they are our voice, and they will pick up the phone and call you. They'll call you back. They're good people to work with. I've been fortunate my whole career. I've always been able to, I'm just a firm believer that if you're in public service, I mean, you're there for the taxpayers of Ohio, and that's your job, and that's one thing I like about Appalachia. We just roll up our sleeves and get busy. That's who we are.
Yep.
So.
Well, as we wrap up, if people need more information, they can obviously go to the website.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the easiest thing to do. You can go to our social media page on our Facebook page. You can go to our website. Our website gets a ton of hits. We're actually in the process of rebranding. We're getting ready to rebrand Buckeye Hills. We're getting ready to rebrand the website. So that's some kind of new initiatives going to come out next fall. But yeah, you can go to our website. I mean, it's buckeyehills.net. Simple to get to. You can enroll right off the front page.
Wow.
You got the high school enrollment and you got the adult enrollment. Both of them are right there. Of course, you can pick up the phone and give us a call anytime. I mean, stop in and see me.
Gotcha.
I got an open door policy. I don't care who you are. That's why I'm in this business is to help the people of Southern Ohio. And if it wasn't for people helping me, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. So it's pretty simple to me. It's about being part of something bigger than ourselves.
I agree. Jamie, we're going to bring you back for Volume 2. We've got a lot going on.
Absolutely.
I want to remind everybody you can listen to the podcast every Sunday morning on 93.1 during the 8 o'clock hour, and also on our Facebook page. Every Friday it's available to click on the link. So until next time, we appreciate you listening. We'll see you then.